I mentioned at the start of the programme, South African Airways plans to retrench workers, and it's estimated at around 900 people could lose their job. The national carrier has incurred billions of rands of losses over the past 13 years. So where exactly is this restructuring process right now? Deon Fredericks is the CFO. The Chief Financial Officer at SAA. Mr. Fredericks, good afternoon to you, joining us via Skype. Has that process then of restructuring and consultation with the union started?
Good afternoon, Jeremy, and good afternoon to the listeners. Yes, the process has not started officially. What has happened, we have called the union to a meeting yesterday at 4 o'clock. Unfortunately, none of the unions arrived. As a result, we had to call them individually and inform them that we'll serve them with a notice. We have served them with a notice. So after that, the consultation can take place.
Right. The conventional wisdom is that this is not going down well with the unions. There's talk today of a possible strike. Whichever way you look at it, you're in for the long haul here.
I think it's important to start at the beginning. We started a program turning the company around. Based on that program, there's 5 pillars, which include various things. For example, fleet renewal. We have started with that, as well as revenue, to increase our revenues, which we have closed certain routes. We're also bringing in the required skills. And then the organizational design is the 5th part of that pillar. We have worked on this, getting the right organizational structure in place as soon as possible, worked on this for the last 6 to 8 months, and now we're ready to make sure that we have the right, if one can use the rugby analogy, the right coaches in place, and making sure that we have organization fit for the future. So we need to make sure that we have the right people in place as well.
Mr. Fredericks, how did you arrive at that figure of 944, if in fact that is correct, and who exactly are they?
Yeah, it's a process. What we've done benchmarking overall to see what the other airlines, how are they, their structures, and identify if it would be applicable for us. And based on that, we have worked out the structure that we will believe would be competitive and assist us in being competitive in the market. The next step is a framework ultimately. Now we will have consultation with the unions, and that's why we say that's the estimate based on any additional information that we get from the unions and any other things that we can do to make sure that we reduce those numbers. That's all that we will be looking at.
What type of jobs are these, Mr. Fredericks?
These would be across the board. Ultimately, you need to make sure that you look at everything at this stage where we're in a very challenging environment, very challenging from a revenue perspective. As we've seen, on average, prices has reduced by 10%, and as a result, we're leaving nothing unturned to make sure that we get the full benefit and try and turn the airline around as quickly as possible.
Given that there have been issues with SAA Technical, would they also be part of this process?
SA Technical is not part of the process. As you would know, we've appointed the new CEO. He's implemented structures and they're aligning now. So SA Technical is not part of the process.
Is the 900 just the first phase? Could there be more than that as you progress with this restructuring?
Ultimately, in any organization, depending if your operating environment change, you will have to ultimately adjust again. And this is what we believe is currently required to make sure that we're competitive and profitable going forward, and ultimately when the time is right, we will relook if there's any additional requirements.
When do you hope to conclude the first phase of this process?
We hope to finish the consultation by the end of January with the unions, and then start with the implementation around about the 1st of April. And as you would appreciate, in a process like this, there are certain things that, especially processes and systems, that you need to be in place. So it will be a phased approach overall.
Are you preparing any contingency should there be a strike at the airline as a result of this announcement?
Yes, we have our contingency plans in place. If it's the intention of the unions to shut SAA down completely, it would be a challenge ultimately. But I think it's important that listeners understand that if they do close the airline, it will have significant impact not only for the airline but for the country and the economy as well. We have calculated the cost of a one-day strike would be around about 57 million. And it's something that we can't afford now. Any negative news usually have a significant impact on our forward bookings. In the previous instance, it cost us around $500 million. And at this stage, we cannot afford it. And that's why we will implore everyone to work with us as we try to turn the company around.
Is there indication that a strike is looming?
We haven't, the unions have received a strike notice. They're balloting their members at this stage, and then they will have to serve us with a notice. We're continuing with discussions with the union. I hope we don't get to it, because it will actually be in no one's interest. We can rather together try and work as a shareholder, board, management, and workers and unions together for the next 2 years to turn the company around, and then we can see what additional requirements we can serve for the unions.
Dion Fredericks is the Chief Financial Officer at SAA. Thank you.